lights this evening. Come on up. Would you like to introduce that, please?
I'm going to pass that right over to Principal Jeff Peterson and the Summit View team, taking out for our bright lights this evening. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. We thought it was an opportunity for us to come back. We're in our third full year of implementation as an integrated arts design and creativity magnet school, and thought it was about time that we revisit and let you know where we are. And actually, probably the purpose of our presentation mostly is tonight is to further define for you what integrated arts looks like from an academic component. So we have three presenters tonight who will kind of be taking us first with a student example of what the instruction for an integrated arts lesson may be. Then we have some, maybe what you would consider professional development and activity that a teacher would lead with students, and then wrapping up with some sort of assessment that we do through the integrated arts genre, I guess you'd call it. So first we have Julie Doty, and then we'll have Adam Hopp and Terry Froyland presenting for a little bit.
Well, hello, good evening. I have to stand. I'm a teacher, I have to stand. A few weeks ago, I was entering the school building, and a colleague stopped me. And she said, oh, I had some students stop by last night. They have you this year, and they're all excited about 5th grade. And I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, they're all excited because they get to doodle during reading class. And I said, and we laughed because we'd both taken a collegial study this past summer. We read the book Syllabus by Linda Berry. And she really wanted to focus on the creative mind. And so we were talking about images and how images are created, and how even as babies, images and sound and movement are really the first things that help us grow and help us learn. So one of the activities was to read aloud from a text, from my mentor text, and have the kids draw images that popped in their mind as they were listening. As we all know, I think when you doodle or when you're coloring, your body relaxes and your mind relaxes. And the kids did the same. So I told them, I'm going to start reading, and when I read, I just want you to write words or phrases or draw pictures of things that pop in your mind. I wanted them to focus on the main character, Augie. What are you learning about him? What do you think he looks like? And you could have heard a pin drop when I started reading. Their bodies calmed. Their minds calmed, and they all were filling their page with images. It was quite fun to see. Afterwards, they couldn't wait to share their journals. I drew this. What did you draw? Why'd you draw that? And the conversation was so rich. They just enjoyed it. So a week later, I tried a different technique, again, to still their bodies, help them focus, and this was just spiraling. So the second activity was, well, that's the third one, but I'll talk about that one now. Just a color, just a random color, a design. And again, this time we were thinking about predicting and what they thought might happen next in the book. And so I gave them a general, just a kind of picture, and I told them to choose just 3 to 6 colored pencils. I didn't want them to go overboard, and start coloring while I read from the text. And again, they were still and they were quiet and they were focused. I had them write a journal entry about how this worked for them. Were they able to really concentrate on the text in the book? And overwhelmingly, they liked this one the best, which kind of surprised me because I liked the first technique better, where you drew images that connected to the text. Because then I thought, oh, this is a summary. This is me retelling, because I can see these great images. The third technique I used was spiraling. And the spiraling activity was, you can see when there, was hard for me as an adult. Just start in the center and create a spiral or a set of spirals, and just keep going while you're listening, and delve into the text. They loved this one. They had a great time. I think maybe because the drawing intimidated them a little bit. They didn't know what to draw, or they thought their drawing wouldn't be good enough, where the spiraling and the coloring, they didn't feel like they were getting judged as much. So I thought today we would try this activity. So you'll see that there are some coloring pages. There are some colored pencils spread about. If you want to try the coloring page, you can. If you'd like to spiral, you even have little mini journals there in front of you. You can spiral, or you could do the visual mapping, or just draw things that come to mind when I read out loud. So the book is Wonder that I'm reading from today. I'll just read the first 2 chapters. Everybody have a pencil, or a colored pencil, or a coloring sheet?
Do you have any pencils?
I know I'm
I
not
have
an
4
ordinary
children.
10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream, I ride my bike, I play ball, I have an Xbox. Stuff like that makes me ordinary, I guess. And I feel ordinary inside, but I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face that no one ever noticed at all. I wish that I could walk down the street without people seeing me and then doing that look away thing. Here's what I think. The only reason I'm not ordinary is that no one else sees me that way. But I'm kind of used to how I look by now. I know how to pretend I don't see the faces people make. We've all gotten pretty good at that sort of thing. Mom, Dad, Via. Actually, I take that back. Via's not so good at it. She can really get annoyed when people do something rude. Like, for instance, one time in the playground, some older kids made some noises. I don't even know what the noises were exactly because I didn't hear them myself. But Via heard, and she just started yelling at the kids. That's the way she is. I'm not that way. Via doesn't see me as ordinary. She says she does. But if I were ordinary, she wouldn't feel like she needs to protect me as much. And Mom and Dad, they don't see me as ordinary either. They see me as extraordinary. I think the only person in the world who realizes how ordinary I am is me. My name is August, by the way. I won't describe what I look like, whatever you're thinking. It's probably worse. So that was a sample of something I did with my kids, and they drew and they were still and their bodies and minds were focused, and it was an amazing experience for everybody. Thank you.
Judy, thank you. What age group?
5th graders.
Okay, great.
And you have these students all day?
Half a day. So I'm the English language arts teacher,
Okay.
and I have them half a day. In the afternoon, they go to math and science with a different teacher.
Well, I can certainly see how you capture the attention of students.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, guys, I'm going to stand up as well. I'm Adam Hopp. I am a 4th grade teacher at Summit View, and I'm going to talk about one of the many great integrated activities that we do. And it's going to connect the idea of our English language arts, so reading strategies, with some of our art standards as well. So when you look at some of our learning targets that we are talking about here, we talk about having evolving objectives in both. So making sure that not only you're teaching the content standard, but then an art standard in the classroom as well, so that they're seeing both of those going on together. So when we look at these, some of our reading standards that I'm going to kind of walk you through a lesson today is refer to details and examples in a text, draw inferences from a text, ask questions about a text. And then those are the reading strategies. And then the art standard that we're looking at is I can make artistic observations. And that's really using ideas like what are the art elements and principles, what's the shape, lines, is there shading going on, is there any movement that's created in the image. So the main thing that we want to talk about with text too is, and one thing that we're seeing here with the integrated arts approach, is text is much more than words in a book. Text is paintings, photographs, movies, videos, all that different multimedia stuff. And truly that saying of a picture's worth 1,000 words, really I think in our integrated arts approach comes true. I'm going to walk you through a lesson that I do with some of my students. It's called Reading Art. It's a 3-step process, and we're going to kind of dig into what it is. Our first read is right here on the board. It's step 1, and it's just make simple observations. We have a painting up here. It's called Nighthawks by Edward Hopper. Maybe you've seen it before. Some of our students have, some of them haven't. And their first job is just to make simple observations. They get 1 to 2 minutes to just look at the piece of artwork quietly, and then we share some simple observations that they're doing. As they're doing that, some simple observations can be, I see a man in a white shirt with a white hat on. I see windows in the background that don't have any lights on. We want them to really just look at what's literally given to them. It's similar to the first read of a reading text, is that they're looking at what's literal, and they're not making any inferences or predictions as they go on. Step 2, you see they'll start going into their making predictions and inferences stage. Again, connecting it to reading, this is when they start making connections, and when they're starting to say, well, why is that character doing this, or what's going to happen next in my piece. For this, what they would say is now the white man, or the man in the white shirt and the hat, well, now they can say, I see a man in a white shirt and a hat who's a waiter at a coffee shop. They've now looked at, they've seen that, okay, there's coffee mugs, there appears to be coffee tins in the back. I'm gonna make an inference, a prediction that this is a coffee shop. They'll look at the background and they'll say, okay, I see an empty street and I saw windows with no lights on. Now they're gonna make the prediction, well, maybe it's late at night or it's early in the morning. They're gonna see the shadows, the shadowing that Edward Hopper, the artist, has done here on the street, and they're gonna say, well, the lights, so either the sun's rising or there's a moon out, there's some way that the lights are making those shadows the way they are. After they've made their first read, the literal, the observations, their second read, their predictions, then they go on to the third step, which is asking questions to further their understanding. When we read a piece of text, we always want to know what's going to happen next or what am I missing. When we read a piece of artwork, we want to do the same thing. We ask questions like, why are these people dressed like this? We can't really answer that. We can make some predictions, but we don't know why. Or why are they the only people on this street? Is it a big town? Is it a small town? Why is it so empty? Questions that we can't quite answer from this piece of artwork, just like in our reading we might not be able to answer it, but we can go on and make those along the way. So in conclusion, our reading art is a phenomenal way to connect those reading strategies of observations, inferring, and inquiring with a piece of artwork and being able to practice both of those skills together as one. A lot of my struggling readers do love doing these type of activities because they're able to show off those reading skills, but they don't have to decode what some of those words are that they don't know. They can do those same skills with a different type of text.
Hi, I'm Terry Froyland. I'm the effectiveness coach at Summit View, and I'm going to walk you through a third grade lesson. And as Mr. Peterson alluded to, this is dealing more with the assessment piece, and it's using drama for assessment, both for the teacher to assess students, but also for students to learn some test-taking skills. So as I said, this would be in a third grade classroom, and it's using drama to improve test-taking skills. So you know that in lots of reading tests, students read passages and then answer comprehension questions. So this would be something to prepare students to do that. And so in this case, I'm not going to give you a reading passage. I'm going to just give you a quick oral summary of a story, and then we'll go on to kind of the next pieces of it. So the picture kind of goes with the story. It's written by Lucy Blevins, who is an artist, and it's a memoir. And she tells a story about when she was a 4-year-old girl. She had a bedroom with a sky blue wall in it. And one day when her mother was busy doing some chores, she got out her paints, and she painted a lovely summer scene on her bedroom wall. She had the clouds and the sun and the whole works. And then her mother walked into the room, and her mother stood stock still, and her jaw dropped, and Lucy thought, now I'm going to get it. And instead, Lucy's mother said, that is the most beautiful painting I've ever seen. And 30 years later, this is a true story, that wall has not been painted over in Lucy's mother's house. It's still there to this day. So you have to imagine that as third graders, you just read this passage, and then if you would move to the next one. Okay, so then here would be a typical comprehension question that you might see on an assessment. What part of the text lets you know how Lucy's mom feels about her having a career as an artist? Now, anyone who's an educator will tell you that one of the hardest things for students is to understand the question in the first place. And you can see this is kind of a long, complex question. So the first part of this activity is making sure that you do understand that. So what I'm going to have you do, we're actually going to do boys against girls since that's how you're sitting, and I have a whiteboard and a marker on each side. What you're going to do is you are going to be thinking of a way to restate that question.
I drew on it.
So that it still is asking the same thing, but if you would click one more time, you need to pretend that each word costs you $100. So your goal is to restate this question in the shortest way possible while keeping the essence of the question. You up for that task? Getting a very quizzical look. Okay, all right, 2 minutes. Convene. You guys will need to kind of huddle together. Once you have yours, hold up your whiteboard so I can see it.
You're trying to spend the least amount of money on your words.
So you're going to make this question as short as you possibly can.
A question about the story?
That question, restating it. You want to ask the same essence of that question in as few words as possible.
Mom's little cappy. I draw mom.
We're supposed to talk.
Yeah, just,
Well, I suppose she's concerned about her daughter
huh?
making a living to support a family. That's what I would think. Although, being an artist is only.
We're supposed to do just a few,
Clouds,
few words. See, I don't know about the career thing.
got a tree.
I don't know that the mom wants her to go into art as a career. I think she's just trying to encourage her and just say, I don't know.
Yeah, how do we put that in?
Well, except
All right, wrap up
in
your
relation
thinking.
to Susie.
That question down.
Didn't have a very good class.
I just have the Susie encourage her. How does Susie encourage her? 6 words. I don't know.
All right, can you hold up your board so I can see what you've got? See your question? You did the visual question. Awesome.
No words.
All right, that's one way to do it.
Ellen,
And as an educator, I also noticed some of the conversations they were having, so I'd probably bring that up when we'd have a whole class discussion. But you can see how students doing this activity, they would know what the question was by the time they did this activity. Then the next step, the next step would be something called tableau, and that's a drama technique that we use a lot at Summit View. It's like a frozen picture. So it's where students use all of the drama pieces that we teach them, the drama standards, like using their
There
facial
you go.
expressions and their bodies, and their imaginations, obviously, and they put that together and they make a frozen picture of the scene. So here's that same question again. What part of the text lets you know how Lucy's mom feels about her having a career as an artist? I won't have you do the tableau, but if you were my 3rd grade students, that's what you would do at this point. You would get in small groups, and you would show me the answer to that question. So in your small group, you might decide one of us is going to be Lucy's mother, and one of us is going to be Lucy, and one of us is going to be the wall, and we all need to have the appropriate facial expressions, and then you would show me your answer. So again, as a student, you would be working on answering that comprehension question to prepare for a test. As a teacher, I have a very quick visual assessment of my students' thinking throughout the classroom. The next step is to refine that.
That's it.
And refining that, I would then show the multiple choice options because many of our tests are multiple choice. You can keep going. And then I would give the Tableau participants a few minutes to refine theirs. They could take a look at those choices and say, ooh, I don't think we quite got that right. And then they could hone in and revise their Tableau. So again, that's a way for students to be practicing test-taking skills while integrating arts and while the teacher gets to do quick visual assessments through the classroom. Thank you for playing my game.
I think the purpose of our presentation tonight, and will continue to be, to add credibility to integrated arts approach to teaching. The definition that we kind of operate under on a daily basis is that the Kennedy Center has provided what the definition of arts integration is. Arts integration is that approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an art form. So they're involved in a creative process. All 3 of our examples tonight had a creative process involved in that. And it connects to content area standards. Literacy standards were some of the examples we shared this evening. And then it also meets an objective in the art standards as well. So that's what we try to do every day when we're delivering what we do. So if community members or maybe other district people ask you what is arts integration, what does it look like, I always want us to get past that we have really good concerts and we have really nice pretty paintings hanging on the wall, because that's a very small sliver of what we do through arts integration and what the impact on student achievement is. So I think our examples tonight demonstrated that students can focus and have some strategies to pay better attention through a literacy exercise. Adam's example was that if you're approaching giving students practice at using skills where they need to engage in text through the painting, everybody was successful. whether they're a good high-level reader or not, and they're engaged in that activity. And then finally, Terry, what do? We measure kids. How do we measure kids? We measure them on assessment. Well, we better be able to measure their academic progress in a way that they're understanding. So we think we're producing better test takers as well by teaching them that you're breaking apart a question. You want to make sure you really understand the question before you can even answer it. And that example that Terry provided was hopefully a slice of what we do every day for you. So if there's not any questions, count that we'll be back again and kind of give you our next steps. And we've got things that are already implemented this year we didn't even tell you about in terms of our garden and our EPIC proposal that we'd love to come back and tell you more about those things. So.
Did I just ask?
Yes.
Well, first, thank you for all of you for coming. This was really great.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear more, as time goes on. And just a quick question first for you, Jeff. How is the music program going? The band specifically and.
Great. We have
Okay.
more students than we had last year. We're
Great.
able to have a full-time person stay in our building this year just based on our numbers and hours and FTEs and all that good thing.
Wonderful.
We've also redesigned our third, fourth, and fifth grade music opportunities to provide half of that experiences with an instrument. So third graders are being exposed to ukulele during their general music classes. Fourth graders are exposed to keyboarding every week. And then our fifth graders have that band and orchestra opportunity and
Great.
a world drumming opportunity.
Super.
And those are year-long. Those aren't just chunks of,
Yeah.
a lesson or a unit, so.
Great.
Jeff, how do you get the instruments for the students?
WEF grants helped purchase part of the
Great.
piano lab and
Yeah.
the drums, so we're very thankful to them for that. And at the event coming up, we'll be presenting a little bit more about how
Great.
they're utilized. But
So you're going to be at the Celebration of Excellence?
yep,
Oh,
we're
great, I'll be
presenting that,
looking
so.
forward to that. Great. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, go
yeah.
ahead.
And Julie and Adam and Terry, I love the examples you gave us, and so thank you so much for that. I do also want to hear more. But I just have a question, and I know everybody who teaches probably goes to bed early, but any chance anybody saw Stephen Colbert last night? Probably not. I DVR. Anyway, the reason I want to mention that to you is you probably will see the way he ended his program last night. He had Yo-Yo Ma with his
Okay.
cello, and Misty Copeland, who's the first African-American lead ballerina, in the American Ballet
Yes,
Theater.
yes, yes.
And Yo-Yo Ma is playing his cello, this gorgeous number, and Misty Copeland had choreographed it with a friend and danced to it. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was just this mixture, of
Wow.
unbelievable. So I think at some point they'll replay it. But anyway, I just wanted to mention it to you, and I know it comes on late, but it was just the kind of thing that's so inspiring. And, I love the use of Hopper. I did want to ask one quick question. Did the kids want to know more about him?
They did, and they
Yeah.
get an opportunity to do some research on not only the painting,
good.
but then some of the artists as well along the way.
Great.
Once they go back to their own individual work time and stuff.
Yeah,
So.
but I love the way you broke it down analytically, too, in terms of how they could. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, you're really setting up your students to be observant and alert, I think, to the entire world around them, and to take those observations and apply them through art and through other areas of the curriculum. Do you integrate art into every area of the curriculum somehow or other, or an art form?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, give me
Yes.
another example, other than coloring or drawing.
We just finished a water cycle unit, and it was really fun. We let the kids get into groups, and they had to create a dance
Wonderful.
that showed all the different parts of the water cycle with movement. They even had to pick music, no lyrics, just music that would go along with it, and they were amazing.
And you're also, excuse me, unleashing creativity in the kids, probably creativity that they never, ever knew they had or wouldn't use if it wasn't for those opportunities in school. And that's pretty wonderful.
A math example would be
Yes.
quarter notes, half notes, et cetera.
Okay.
Obviously, you do fractions in third grade math, and that's
Sure,
a
sure.
perfect example to work on that mathematical concept through an art form.
Wonderful. Do you take related field trips?
everything we do,
related
we
to,
try
you
to,
know,
everything
pardon?
we do, we try to integrate and connect. So we've gone to Storybook Gardens in the last week, or
Okay.
it's not Storybook Gardens, it's something like that.
Okay,
What is it?
Bookworm Gardens.
Bookworm Gardens. We weren't flying anywhere. But that's a connection, certainly storytelling that our students are able to do and experience that field trip. Obviously, we're partners with First Stage in Milwaukee, so we get to benefit through a lot of their activities
come
and
out there
outreach
and-
as well. They come out to us.
that's wonderful.
And we have a dance instructor coming in this year as well to our building, so.
Have you taken the kids to the Art Museum in Milwaukee? That would seem like a real natural connection.
Right.
Okay, great.
Honestly, we're kind of trying to recreate that in our walls every day, though.
Sure,
We do
sure.
an activity with our high school students, too, that come over and do kind of the mini art of writing experience that happens at the Milwaukee Art Museum, but we do it right at Summit View with art students from the high school, and students write about that. But-
Well, my experience of, being a classroom teacher was, I'm just not so sure that children observe the whole world around them, maybe just something that catches their eye or something they're interested in, but you've really expanded their observation and thinking, and that's wonderful. We need to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, Ellen?
One more thing, I don't know that I went to a progressive grade school back when I went to grade school, but they did play classical music at lunch, in the lunchroom. And a lot of times it was Bach, because it's so cheerful. So they played the Brandenburg concertos a lot, and now when I hear, Bach, it just is these wonderful, happy memories. So I don't know if you can do that over your PA, but it's really cool.
We have a box lunch experience, which a play on words, but it's during our lunch hour where we have musical groups come in and do that. It's not always box, but it's certainly music.
That's okay.
Gotta mix their spelling up.
That middle school can correct that.
Well, I was fortunate to go to high school where we had to take 4 years of art appreciation, 4 years of music appreciation. And through that, I, developed a tremendous love for art and music that I probably would not have ever developed. So I think you're doing this at a very, very young age. And this is wonderful to have them observe things that normally go unnoticed in their world. So, Karen.
Thank you. So what will happen when they go to middle school?
I was just going to wrap up with that for you tonight. We'll probably be coming back to talk about that a little bit more, obviously. There's a lot of options that we could do, but we are to the point where we recognize how effective it is. We have students that have left and kind of feel a little bit left out, missing those experiences that they have as fifth graders and now in middle school. So obviously working closely with some things that most of our students go to Butler, most of that Butler's doing, but as well as Les Paul, and just kind of starting those conversations with our middle school people and making sure that they can get over and see some of the connections that would be worthwhile for a middle school teacher and student as well. But we'll come back for a little more formal plan for that. So
Are you planning another dramatic production this year?
we are.
Is it a
and
secret what it is?
I don't know. Is it a secret,
Oh.
or can we release that?
Okay, well, it's early
I
in
don't
the
think
year.
it's a secret. We purchased it.
So that's the Lion King this year.
Oh, wonderful.
Get ready.
Your students did a wonderful job on last year's, I was so impressed, so,
Amazing what talent that lies
Oh.
beneath the surface in these young kids.
right.
Yep.
Oh, that's gonna be wonderful, and that'll be in spring, I would assume?
Mm-hmm.
Are you one of the directors, or do you have some?
Yeah.
You are. Well, thank you for everything that you're doing at that school to develop, creativity and writing in response to different things. And I think that it's a wonderful experience for our students, so thank you. Anybody have any more questions or comments? Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Jeff, for
Thank
leading
you.
that. Thank you.
We want your pencils back.
Do you want your?